Welcome back to the Virtual Presentation Skills mini course. Today in part 4, we're going to be talking about aesthetics and the story behind them. So let's jump right back into the content. The act of putting yourself in a frame is the act of telling a story. Everything in that frame matters, from your background to what you wear to your lighting. You have to start seeing yourself as not only the on-camera talent, but also the director too. That means you have to pay attention to all the little details and really make conscious choices about what stays and what goes. This is what I like to call aesthetics, and it's what we're going to be talking about today in part 4. So today I'm going to share with you 3 common mistakes that presenters make when creating videos or presenting on camera. And I'm also going to share with you 3 strategies for how you can avoid those mistakes. Mistake number 1 is not considering your background. So whether you realize it or not, everything in your frame says something about you. In other words, everything in your frame is telling a story, and you want to make sure that it's the story you want to tell. So for example, in my frame here, in my background, I have books that represent learning and growth, and this is appropriate because I'm a coach and I'm a trainer. And I also have warm tones and earthy tones, which are calm and warm and approachable. And they also work with my wardrobe and my coloring. So all of this is very deliberate on my part. You want to ask yourself, what is the story your background is telling? Because everything says something. Maybe you have no background at all. In other words, you're standing in front of a blank wall. Well, whether you like it or not, that's saying something too. You really want to put something in your background that helps give texture to your framing, to your frame, and then make sure that whatever's in that frame, whatever's in your background, is communicating something about you that goes along with the story you're trying to tell. And not considering your background isn't an option, because not making choices about those things is telling the story that you're not making choices about those things. So not considering your background is mistake number 1. Mistake number 2, when it comes to aesthetics, is not wearing clothes that are appropriate for the camera. It's important to understand that not all clothes look great on camera. So you have to make conscious decisions about what you're going to wear when you make a video or when you do any presentation on camera. For example, if you wear black tends to age you. So you want to avoid black, especially close to your face. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is stripes are complicated for the camera to pick up. They tend to give off this vibrating quality. So you want to avoid stripes. Complicated patterns are also hard for the camera to pick up, so it's best to avoid those. So you really want to understand that not all clothes are going to be great, and you want to make conscious decisions about what you're going to wear for any video or on-camera presentation that you do. Of course, similar to your background, you want to pay attention to all the details. So, for example, are you wearing logos on your clothes? Do you want to be promoting for that company? Do you have any wrinkles in your clothing? That is important to iron that out before you go on camera. Also, glasses. If you wear glasses, is your lighting casting a glare off your glasses? How can you make that not happen? All of these little details are really important when you're working on the aesthetics for your video. So you want to pay attention to them, especially your clothing for the camera. Mistake number 3 when it comes to aesthetics is poor lighting. Lighting is the most important element to your aesthetics, because when you're not lit properly, you can run into all sorts of problems. Namely, if your face isn't lit properly, then your audience can't connect with you. Secondly, if you're not lit properly, if you don't have enough light in the frame, then your picture can get kind of grainy and your production value drops. It starts to feel a little less professional. Also, if your on-camera area is too dark, then you're going to give off a bit of a dark vibe. And you want to ask yourself, is this the vibe? Is this the message I want to communicate? I've seen so many presenters really struggle with the lighting in their aesthetics, and it's something that is really important to get figured out before you do your next presentation or create your next video. Now that we've gone over the 3 common mistakes that presenters make when it comes to aesthetics, let's talk about 3 strategies, and I'll give you some action items so you can avoid making those mistakes. So strategy number 1 for how to create great aesthetics for your next presentation or video is to design your background. It's important to take some time to design your background so that it is telling the story that you want it to tell. And a good place to start with this is simply by asking yourself, okay, what's the story I want to tell? Come up with 3 adjectives that help you communicate that feeling that you want to give off. Is it educated? Is it sporty? Is it scientific? Then from there, ask yourself how you can express that by what you put in your frame. Strive to give your frame some texture, maybe with some objects in the background that help communicate that story. Of course, this is going to take a bit of time. So your action item is to put time in your calendar to design your set. The good news is that once you get this done, then that set is done and you can use that until you get tired of it and you want to create a new one. Strategy number 2 for how to communicate great aesthetics on camera is to identify your on-camera wardrobe. It's a great idea to have a really clear sense of what looks good on camera on you and what doesn't, so that you can focus on your content instead of striving to figure out that wardrobe on the day of your presentation. Some good choices for the camera are definitely solid colors. You want to avoid patterns, definitely avoid stripes. Jewel tones near the face are really good. They really brighten up your look. So try some jewel tones near the face. Another thing that's important to keep in mind is that you want your clothing to contrast your background. So for example, if you're wearing a white top and you have a white wall behind you, you're going to blend into that wall. You're not going to pop out of that wall. And you want to create this foreground background experience for your viewer. So choose clothing that contrasts your background as well. An action item for you is to record yourself with some different tops and see what looks good and what doesn't. And then make a mental note that these are the things I can wear on camera and these are the things I'm not going to wear on camera. That will allow you to make choices really quickly on the day when you need to give a presentation on camera or you need to film a video, and you can focus on your content instead of on your aesthetics. Strategy number 3 for how to really up-level your aesthetics for any production is to invest in lighting. Investing in a great lighting kit is really going to take you to a pro level. And once you have your lighting set up, you won't waste any more time running all around the house trying to grab lights to make you have enough light when you're filming yourself. I have invested in both a travel kit and also a more beefy professional setup when I'm filming from home. And this allows me to be able to shoot from anywhere and know that I can always control the lighting around me to get the effect that I want. I recommend having at least 2 points of light so you can avoid creating shadows. I'll be transparent with you in saying that right now I only have 1 point of light, and maybe you can tell because it's casting a shadow behind me over here. So I need to get another travel light so I can avoid creating those shadows when I'm shooting. Another great thing is to invest in a lighting kit where you can adjust the lighting temperature. You can use 5600 Kelvin if you're shooting in a daytime situation and you want to light your face more. And then you can lower that temperature if you're shooting with more of a warmer light situation. Having that flexibility is really important when you're trying to control that lighting situation. So your action item is to do the research and find a lighting kit that really works for you, and then go ahead and buy it. You're really not going to regret having your lighting sorted out so that next time you film a video or do an on-camera presentation, you can focus on your content and not on your aesthetics. So that's it for part 4 of this 4-part virtual presentation skills mini course, where today we talked about aesthetics and some mistakes to avoid when thinking about aesthetics for on camera, and then 3 strategies for how to up-level your aesthetics. And what those are to design your background, to identify an on-camera wardrobe, and then 3, invest in some solid lighting that's going to make you look more professional. So you can really not worry about your aesthetics or how you're coming off on camera, but really be able to focus on the content and the message that you want to share.